In this video, I'm going to share my #1 hack to help you 10x your Instagram content and break it down into multiple layers of content that you can share and leverage across all the media platforms you desire. This is the exact hack that I use to build consistency, to remove the amount of work I have to do, and streamline my content system from A to Z. Stay tuned. If we haven't met yet, I'm Stefanie Lugo, and if you're looking to grow your real estate business and have a lot of fun while you're at it, you've got to hit subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification icon to be notified every week when I'm dropping new tips and strategies for real estate businesses and social media marketing. So if it's between people sliding into my DMs on Instagram or the agents that I'm mentoring in the Market Authority Academy, across the board, agents always struggle with consistency when it comes to social media marketing. So here's the secret. The secret to consistency and to 10xing your content is to create as little original content as possible. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to take one great piece of original content and break it down into as many little bite-sized pieces of content as possible that is going to help you build consistency, build credibility, and ultimately help you generate more clients along the way. First, I want to share why you don't have to create as much original content as you think you might have to. I know that we all want to believe that we are beautiful, special, unique butterflies, and that everything that we have to say is very unique and very strong and very impactful, and it probably is. However, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. When you create a post on Instagram, a very tiny fraction of your audience at the time you post it is actually going to see it. Okay, so you may actually have to only create a fraction of the amount of original content that you think you do, but you probably have to repost it in as many different formats as you can multiple times before it actually hits and impacts your audience the way you're hoping it will. So let's look at the different ways that we can break down one great piece of original content into as many different parts of the Instagram platform as we can, because that's kind of the beauty of Instagram. They give us many different methods of executing the same piece of content. I mean, imagine we have stories, posts to the feed, reels, IGTV. In fact, I'm pretty sure I broke it all down in a video here on my channel. Check that out if you haven't yet. But we're gonna explore all the different ways that we can break these down using those different ways of sharing content on the gram. So #1, we're gonna start with our piece of original content. How do you come up with original content, you may ask? Well, my answer to that is listen to your audience. And your audience should be your clients. So if you're working with clients and you get asked the same question twice, this is a trigger for me. 2 times. If I am asked the same question twice, that's a trigger for me to create a unique piece of content around that. If you don't have clients, think about your ideal client and think about the current market conditions and kind of do a little digging into what they might be experiencing or the problems they may be facing and create your original content around there. For example, over the course of about a week, it was made apparent to me from a couple of different clients that they didn't understand that they had to reach out to me instead of another agent to see a home. And this happens when buyers are looking anywhere they can for homes. No matter what fancy apps or home search sites you have, they're invariably going to end up on Zillow, they're gonna end up on social media sites, they're gonna end up on Realtor.com, Redfin, whatever the flavor of the week is, to find new listings. And there's that ever tempting schedule a virtual tour button right next to this beautiful house that they find. And so when you are seeing a problem like that and hearing it multiple times over a couple of days like I was, immediately that was a trigger for me that I needed to create a piece of content breaking down why that occurs and how the proper etiquette for buyers to go through that process of actually reaching out to their buyer's agents to arrange that scheduling actually works. So find these hangups, find these pitfalls, find these risks, find these problems that your real-time clients might be experiencing or that you suspect your ideal client will be experiencing. And you can start by either creating a blog post for this if you have a blog and a website, or just write out an article about it on a Google Doc, Word doc, whatever you're into, and get your thoughts out, get the story out, and put that piece of content in place. What you're trying to do here is identify that there's a problem and share how you provide the solution. Once you have your thoughts here all kind of in line, and if you're just really witty and you don't have to go through the struggle of typing it out, then that's great too. But once you have your thoughts in line here, pop onto the stories on Instagram and chat about it. Do a few chatty videos with your face. Make sure that you're building that face-to-face connection and share a little bit of your thoughts. Identify this being a problem for potential buyers and how you can help them circumvent it. What you're doing here is you're teasing this piece of content on your stories, and you're trying to identify whether or not this is going to resonate with your audience. Now remember, the stat is 1 in 4 stories will result in a direct message. So if you get any kind of interaction here, this is your sign that you are on the right track. Next, remember we wrote out that beautiful blog or article? You're gonna take all that copy, put it together with a beautiful post or a video or a graphic that you made in Canva, and create a post in the feed using that content. You now have 2 series of content so far, and we're gonna create 3 and 4. After you've created that post in the feed, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna loop it right back up into your stories. Hit that little airplane icon underneath the post, click add to your story, and add a little text to it if you need to, or at the very least, add a GIF. We're gonna say GIF, right? We're going with GIF. We're gonna add a little GIF on top of the Instagram post that is going to say new post, so that you can get in front of anybody who saw your stories and let them know that you have that new post in your feed where you dive deeper into the details of what you were sharing in your sneak peek. At this point, you now have a couple of pieces of content that you've put together. You've plugged it on the stories, you put it in the feed, you shared it back into the stories. This is not overkill. Remember, consumers are exposed to 15,000 pieces of content every day on average, give or take. And so we have to keep nailing this in over and over to drive that message home. If you are getting interaction, you're getting comments on your post, you're getting DMs in the stories, at that point you might want to elaborate further on the stories after you've shared that post from your feed in there to kind of just round out your thoughts on it, respond to any comments or direct messages you got, and really just close out that conversation as a whole. Now, during this time, you're inviting interaction, okay? You might be putting up a poll or a question box and inviting people to ask further probing questions or get a sense of their agreements on that topic, see if anybody else has experienced the problem that you're laying out and what they think about the solution you have to offer. So there are 2 people watching this video. If you're the person who you feel really good about what I'm sharing here and you're following along on the sequence of actions, then we're good to go. If you need a little help here and you're like, Steph, you lost me 3 pieces of content ago, that's fine. Follow me on Instagram, Bryce and Stefanie. You can see where I do this every single week. If you want a little help hand-holding on how to actually execute this step by step, you may do well checking out one of my free social media classes, which are linked below, where I share a little more in depth on how to accomplish this. Okay, moving on. What do we have now? We have a beautiful sequence of stories that hopefully has resulted in some interaction, maybe a poll, maybe a question box. We have a beautiful post on the feed, which we have leveraged in a couple of different ways. At this point, we have a couple of different ways that we can continue the conversation. If you got a lot of interaction and you got a lot of responses and questions, hell, if you even got 1 or 2, this is your ticket to, hey, this is something that people care about. This is when you want to be creating evergreen content. Now, evergreen content is a piece of content that is going to stay on your Instagram for a long time and be searchable, something that people can find and use as a resource. This is when you might want to consider creating an IGTV with the content. So you already have that blog post article that you wrote out. You fine-tuned it for the post in your feed. You kind of chatted it out on the stories. You should have a really good idea on the most important parts from that piece of content. Wrap those up into an IGTV. Chat about it for about 5 minutes on video with your face, and make sure that you're really explaining the ins and outs of the problem and the solution that you have to offer. It may sound repetitive after a while, but again, we are creating this in different formats so that different people will find it at different times of need. Now, maybe you get a really great response. People think that you're really funny. People think that this is a hilarious situation or a gaffe that they found themselves in. At that point, you might be able to make this into a reel. Now, Reels, if you remember, are 15 or 30-second videos that are supposed to be very motivational, inspirational, educational, but very engaging. It's fast-paced content. If you are able to, you can now look at this and figure out a way to break this down into micro content, which is a reel, and share it that way. Now, if you haven't checked out how often to post on Instagram, check out that video. That's going to share how often you should be doing these, but I'll save you the time if you don't have time to check that out. Basically, you want to be posting these once a week minimum. Reels right now are super hot, very shareable, very prone to be going viral right now, and so I think that it would really make sense to repurpose as much as your content into Reels as you can. So you have some options now. You have almost exhausted all of the different ways that you can share content on Instagram, but you don't have to be done. Do you have an email newsletter? If you have an email newsletter, like I do to my clients, you can link to these posts in your email newsletter and say, hey, I created this great post on Instagram that shares exactly why X, Y, and Z. And just do a little teaser in your email newsletter, link to that post, and there you have another way to repurpose that content and share value for those who may not follow you on Instagram. Bonus, maybe they'll follow you now that they understand that you're on Instagram and have an idea of what to expect from you. Another thing you can do is start looking at other social media platforms. Refine further and create an article for LinkedIn, or put a long form video on YouTube. You want to do these when you're getting a lot of interaction. So when you get some interaction, you get some responses, you get people talking about this topic, that's your cue to go all in. You want to just squeeze as much juice out of that orange as you possibly can. And so creating that YouTube video, creating that long form article on LinkedIn, putting it on Facebook, as much as you want to do, you can do at this point. But number one, the thing you definitely want to consider doing is if you get somebody asking for more. And if this series results in a lead or a prospective client, you now have your ticket to create a lead magnet. What is a lead magnet? A lead magnet is a free resource that you compile. Maybe it's an ebook you create on Canva. Maybe it's a video series you put on YouTube in the unlisted section. It is a gated piece of content that you offer to consumers on the platform in exchange for their contact information. So this is a really good opportunity to maybe, once you say, hey, this really struck a lot of people and this had a great response, you might want to consider creating an additional piece of content that you can then offer as a resource in exchange for people giving you their contact information, so that you then have the opportunity to follow up, maybe set that appointment, and maybe close deals. This all is exactly how we've been able to close multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in gross commission income from Instagram alone this year. This is super powerful. And as you can see, all it takes is a little extra work and a little intent. So if you're freaking out right now and this sounds like way too much work for you, you have two choices. You can either put your head in the sand and pretend this doesn't exist. Probably not a good strategy. Or you can ask for help. Again, I have links to all my free resources below, along with the ability to apply to my mentorship program, the Market Authority Academy, and I can share exactly how to implement this in your business. And I promise you, it's not as hard as you might think. So let me know if you want my help. All that information is below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that you found it helpful. And if you did, let me know what your biggest aha moment was in the comment section. Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, keep on crushing it.